Hi, and thanks for joining me today. Today we're going to be taking an advanced look at the chakra bodies and how they correspond to the spinal column. Now, you've learned that the spinal column and the cranium are part of the axial skeleton. The spinal cord holds the spinal column and all of the nerves associated with it. The spinal column is located inside of the vertebral column and connects directly with the brainstem. Along the vertebral column, we find various plexuses. These plexuses are associated with the central nervous system, and they innervate different muscle tissue in our body. Each of the chakra bodies are associated with a plexus. These plexuses tie directly into the central nervous system and communicate directly with the brainstem. The peripheral nervous system is part of our proprioceptive system that helps us to determine if there is danger or safety in our environment. Our proprioceptive system also helps us to understand where our physical body is in time and space. Our proprioceptive system is associated with various plexuses that tie into the peripheral nervous system and innervate our arms and legs and the different muscular structures that are responsible for picking up on the psychic nuances in our environment. Another part of our proprioceptive system is the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is tied directly into the central nervous system, and it innervates our vital organs and helps to regulate autonomic functions. The peripheral nervous system is broken up into two parts, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system initiates our hyper-aroused sympathetic nervous system response to danger or the perceived threat of danger. The parasympathetic nervous system regulates the body and helps to initiate our rest and digest function. Both the sympathetic nervous system and the peripheral nervous system are looking at our environment through the lens of the proprioceptive system to understand if it's safe for us to rest and digest our food and heal, or if we need to be on alert, ready to move. The chakras are a big part of this system. They are the locations of communication between our central nervous system and our peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system takes in information in your environment and sends this information back to the central nervous system. The central nervous system then alerts the respective plexus that it needs to alert to let it know that it's time to innervate a particular muscle tissue in response to something in the environment. Let's take, for example, the solar plexus. The solar plexus is actually the celiac plexus. It's located right above the navel, midway in the abdominal cavity. The celiac plexus is a bundle of nerves and ganglia that innervate several structures in the abdomen, three of which are important and directly correspond to the feeling of dis-ease we experience when we feel disempowered. The celiac plexus innervates the stomach, the small intestine, and the gallbladder. When you feel disempowered, unsure, or anxious, you might feel upset to your stomach, or you might feel the need to use the restroom, or you might have indigestion. This is because when we get signals from our environment that tell us that we might be in a position of disempowerment, or that we might be judged or ridiculed in some way, our celiac plexus starts to innervate the organs that it's responsible for, letting us know that perhaps we're not in the best situation. Sometimes our nervous system is operating under a misunderstanding. Sometimes we experience trauma in our past that directly impacts the way that our peripheral nervous system picks up on environmental cues. This ties directly into the polyvagal theory, which we'll talk about later. Essentially, if we experience trauma in early development, we might be confused as adults. We might perceive danger when no danger is there, or we might perceive things are safe when they're actually very dangerous. This is a misunderstanding in the communication system on an unconscious level, and we can use yoga and different therapies for the chakra bodies to help bring things back into balance. As you might have learned previously, there are 7 chakras in the chakra system that we teach in the system of Hatha Yoga. Here we have the root chakra or Muladhara, located right underneath the tailbone and served by the perineal plexus and the sacral plexus. Swadhisthana chakra or the sacral chakra is right above the sacrum. The sacral chakra is served by the sacral plexus and the lumbar plexus. Above Swadhisthana chakra, we have Manipura chakra or the solar plexus. The solar plexus corresponds to the celiac plexus, which innervates various abdominal organs responsible for digestion. As we move up the chakra chain, we come to Anahata chakra, or the heart chakra. In the heart chakra, we see that the pericardial plexuses, both of them, there are 2, serve as the heart chakra. As we move up into the throat, we find Vishuddha chakra, or the throat chakra. The throat chakra corresponds to the pharyngeal plexus and the brachial plexus. As we move up into Ajna chakra, we see the third eye, which corresponds to the pineal gland. And finally, we reach Saraswara chakra, or the crown chakra, which corresponds to the cerebral plexus. Each plexus innervates tissue close by and sends communication from the central nervous system to the plexus, which then innervates different muscle tissue. Muscle tissue only does 2 things. It contracts and releases. So when we feel the Muladhara chakra, for example, as a felt sense in the body, you might feel a contraction in the perineum due to the perineal plexus. Each of these chakra bodies have both a physical component that's tied directly into the nervous system and a metaphysical component. From the perspective of yoga philosophy, the physical component is the gross physical structure or the plexus that we correspond to the chakra body itself. The metaphysical component to the chakra is the astral and causal components. Astral components correspond to the astral plane, a subtle plane that is integrated within the earth loka. Many times people say that the astral plane corresponds with heaven. You could say that. It's just a more subtle plane. It's a more subtle particulate. The astral plane is where our emotions reside. And the astral elements of each chakra are the emotional elements. The causal elements of each chakra are the thoughts associated with those emotions. If we were looking at this from the perspective of archetypes, we could say that each chakra has both a balanced and an imbalanced archetype. For example, the root chakra has a balanced archetype of mother and an imbalanced archetype of victim. The sacral chakra, or the Swadhisthana chakra, has a balanced archetype of empress, or emperor, and an imbalanced archetype of martyr. The solar plexus, or Manipura chakra, has a balanced archetype of warrior, and an imbalanced archetype of servant. The heart chakra, Anahata chakra, has a balanced archetype of lover and an imbalanced archetype of actor. The throat chakra, Vishuddha chakra, has a balanced archetype of communicator and an imbalanced archetype of silent child. Ajna chakra has a balanced archetype of intuitive and an imbalanced archetype of intellectual. The crown chakra has a balanced archetype of guru and an imbalanced archetype of egoist. As you can see, each of the chakra bodies corresponds very well with both an emotional and an intellectual characteristic. We can't forget that each of the chakra bodies also correspond to a color and an element. Muladhara chakra, the root chakra, corresponds to red and the element of earth. Swadhisthana chakra, the sacral chakra, corresponds to the color orange and the element of water. Manipura chakra, the solar plexus chakra, corresponds to the color yellow and the element of fire. Anahata chakra, the heart chakra, corresponds to the color green and the element of air. Vishuddha chakra, the throat chakra, corresponds to the color blue and the element of ether. Now, once we move into the third eye and crown, we move out of the earth plane and into the astral and causal planes. Ajna chakra corresponds to the astral plane, where our emotions live. And Saraswara chakra corresponds directly to the causal plane, or where our thoughts and imagination live. We are multifaceted beings, and the chakra bodies are no different. They have many different facets and hold many different keys to awakening the possibilities held within a human being. Each of the chakras is associated with a siddhi or a master. When we begin to use our contemplative practices like meditation to focus our awareness on specific elements of the chakra bodies, we can begin to tap into psychic intuition. Remember, the psychic system is really made up of the proprioceptive system and the nervous system, creating unconscious communication both in our own energetic field and between others. Richard Miller is one of my teachers, and he says, "We are all awareness in which everything is arising." There is no Michelle, there's no Tara, there's no Chris. It's awareness in which everything is arising. The lens of Michelle or the lens of Tara or my husband Chris is our karmic lens. I am awareness in which everything is arising. And I view that awareness through the chitta vritti of Michelle, the individual mental fluctuations of Michelle. But I'm not attached to Michelle or Michelle's karma. I'm just a witness to what is arising in awareness. This is the practice of yoga. This is the practice of non-attachment. In addition to all of these facets found within the chakra system and the subtle bodies, we also have energetic locks. Now, you might have heard of the bandhas, and bandhas are part of the energetic locks that we use especially in asana and pranayama to contain energy. But we also have locks or knots called granthis. Granthis are associated with different planes of existence or lokas, and they hold the energy of the chakra bodies that they contain. For example, the root chakra and the sacral chakra correspond to the Brahmana Granthi, which corresponds to the physical loka or the physical plane. The solar plexus, heart chakra, and throat chakra correspond to the Vishuddha Grantha. And this corresponds to the astral plane where our emotional body lives. The third eye chakra and crown chakra correspond to the Radha Granthi. And this Granthi corresponds directly with the causal plane, our thoughts and our imagination. In addition to having an association with an element, a color, an aspect, and an archetype, Each of the chakras is also tied directly to a plane of existence or a loka, an experience. The root chakra is associated with the Bhu loka, or the physical plane. The sacral chakra is associated with the Bhuvar loka, or the astral plane. The solar plexus chakra is associated with the Svagha loka, or the celestial plane. The heart chakra is associated with the Maha loka, or the balanced plane. The throat chakra is associated with the Jnana loka, or the human plane. Ajna chakra is associated with the Tapas loka, or the plane of austerity. The crown chakra is associated with the Satyam loka, or the plane of truth. As we move up in our involution of spiritual awakening, we move through each of the lokas. We come from the earth and move all the way up to truth. And this is how we awaken into our natural enlightened state of being. The practice of yoga, balancing our chakras and energetic bodies, helps us to maintain a state where we can achieve self-realization. Self-realization occurs when we realize that we are a being in a human experience, a light being of divinity, and that every other being is as well. When we really understand this, when we really can capture this, we understand that our worst enemy is as much divinity and light as our dearest friend. There's no difference energetically. There's no bad energy and there's no good energy. In fact, the idea that we want to achieve a higher vibration is actually not true. The root chakra vibrates around 350 hertz. The crown chakra vibrates around 950 hertz. Cancer vibrates around 100,000 hertz. The earth vibrates around 7.5 hertz. We actually are here on this earth to be embodied. We want our vibration to be as close to the vibration of the earth and the natural qualities manifested here on earth in the physical plane as possible. The higher the vibration, the more erratic the vibrational qualities and the more propensity for dis-ease. It's important to notice this and to note it so that we can begin to understand that we are really living our life through the guna, rajas and tamas. And the goal isn't to be so rajistic that we float away into the atmosphere. The goal is to find balance, to find sattva. Sattva comes through practice, through the application of tapas to our karma. And through this, we awaken into our natural enlightened state of being. I hope you found this lecture helpful. As you explore the chakra bodies and the way that they impact your body and mind, consider how your patterns, your samskaras, are perpetuating different perceptions and stories that might be holding you in cycles of imbalance. Use your practice to undo the doing, let go of any unnecessary attachments, and release any holding that you might have. This is liberating in and of itself.